It was 9:30. I was lying on the couch, tired. I was about to get up to go to bed when this little 9-year-old girl I was living with at the time came into the living room and started chattering away, just like she always did. Her name was Jamie. Well, suddenly, Jamie asked me a question that changed my life. She said, "Dan, do you ever tell yourself to shut up?" Well, I thought about it for a minute, and I said, "No, I guess I don't." "Why, do you?" She said, "Yes, I have this little friend inside of me. His name is Christopher. And sometimes he talks so much I have to tell him to shut up." Well, Jamie was such a playful little girl. She was always pulling these cute little girl pranks on me, and so I figured, okay, here we go again. Wonder what she's got up her sleeve this time. So I humored her for a couple of minutes, and finally I decided to call her bluff. So I said, "I sure would like to talk to this Christopher. Can you arrange that?" She said, I figured, I got her now. She said, "Okay, but I'll have to wake him up." Well, that got my attention. I sat up on the couch, and after about 5 or 10 seconds of silence, I'm now hearing the voice of a teenage boy coming out of her little girl mouth. So we introduced ourselves, and I asked him to sit down on the couch. We talked for 90 minutes. It was the most riveting and compelling experience I'd ever had up to that point. I definitely sensed an otherworldly presence. So I said, "What are you? An angel? A spirit guide? Or just what?" He said, "Well, either one of those things is closest to the truth." So I said, "Well, what are you doing inside of my little Jamie?" He said her grandpa, who had died years earlier, had noticed that she was struggling, and Grandpa sent Christopher to help her and look out for her and to be with her. He even knew Grandpa's name. And so, of course, I asked him lots of questions because I knew I might never get this opportunity again. At that point, I was convinced he was an angel. So I said, "Do you know God?" He said, "I have met God a couple of times." So I said, "Okay, well, please tell me, what is God really like?" He said, "That's classified." I was so disappointed here. I thought I was going to get the inside scoop on the Creator herself. So then I asked, "Well, does God actually want us to worship Him?" He said, "No. God is omnipotent. Omnipotent beings don't need to be worshipped, and they don't want to be worshipped because they're omnipotent." So then I asked, "Is there really such a thing as a hell or a devil?" He said, "No, God loves His children so much, He would never create such ugliness for us." So then I was very curious about our souls. So I asked him lots of questions about that. What happens to our souls? And he said, well, most of them get sent back around over and over again, but they get to stay in the spirit world for quite a while first, some more so than others. So I said, "So you mean the Hindus had it right all along?" He said, "Yep." So then I said, "Well, I've heard that God sometimes sends our souls back around into higher animals. Is this true?" He said, "Yes." So I said, "Well, why would God do that?" He said, "That's classified." So he said that 3 times that night. Well, we had a wonderful time, and that was such a beautiful experience. And, oh, by the way, he told me he used to have a human body. He died in a 3-wheeler accident when he was 12 years of age. And so it was his job to help many children across the world. So I said, well, how do you get around? He said, well, we travel through the time zones at the speed of light. I said, well, how do you do that? He said, with thought. But it's very tiring. So, he also said that any time a child has an imaginary friend, that's not imaginary. That's a real angel, always. So we had such a wonderful experience on that couch. I still have that couch, and I can't ever get rid of it. It's too much sentimental value. So we finally said our farewell. So I said, well, will we be talking again someday? He said yes, and I thanked him profusely for coming to me, and then he left. Unfortunately, I didn't have brains enough to ask him how I would summon him, but that worked itself out anyway. Well, for the next 4 years, nothing happened in my spiritual life, not that I'm aware of anyway. Well, I told this same story to my sister-in-law, Debbie. She said, I have a friend from high school who I'm still very close to. Her name is Taffy. She is a psychic. She lives in Florida, and I want you to call her and tell her your story. Okay, so I did. A few days later, I called Taffy and explained the whole thing to her, and she said something like, it sounds like you definitely had an encounter with a being from the other side, and you're going to have more. So, boy, was I excited. And but we didn't know for sure what would happen. Well, that was 2005, and shortly after I talked to her, I started experiencing this strangest phenomenon. It was some kind of energy thing that I've never felt before. And it was so pleasant and so beautiful. I didn't know what it was or where it was coming from. So I'd keep calling Taffy back all summer. Taffy, what is this that I'm feeling? What's happening to me? This is great, but I don't understand it. Where is this leading up to? And why is this happening to me of all people? Well, she was able to answer all my questions, and she really sent me on the way. And I eventually named it Energetic Joy, because this is such loving energy and brings me so much joy. I've been having that energetic joy in my life ever since 2005. Now, moving forward to 2009, one night I was visiting a friend. The energy and it just started up and just kept building and building. She could feel it. So I had the strangest sensation that somebody wanted to talk to me. So I thought, boy, something big is going to happen. I better get home. So I got home as fast as I could, and I plopped right down on my bed. Well, for the next 90 minutes, I had my first telepathic exchange with Christopher. Also there was my dad, who had died the year before, and also there were the parents of a former girlfriend. They were all speaking to me in unison, as one. It was such a beautiful experience. But they wanted me to do something. They wanted me to send a message to this former girlfriend, and I didn't want to do it. So we went around and around and around for about 45 minutes. So finally I cut a deal with them. I know, I can't believe I cut a deal with a bunch of ghosts. You had to be there. So I said, okay, I'll send this message to her. And in exchange for you guys agreeing to do something for her too, something that I felt would help her along the way. So they agreed to that. Also that night, Christopher told me he's been trying to communicate with me telepathically for years, only I didn't know it. So at that point I laughed out loud and said, "I'm sorry, I'm so dense, I didn't know you were trying to communicate with me for 4 years." Well, ever since that night, we've had countless telepathic exchanges, and he has enriched my life so greatly. It's unbelievable. Well, fast forwarding now to the spring of 2010. I met this woman online, this woman named Beverly. Well, we decided to talk on the phone, and I told her my story, just like I shared with all of you, and she liked hearing it, and she shared some of her spiritual experiences too. So it was a wonderful connection. We talked for a couple of hours. Well, a few days later, Beverly called back and said, "I think I used to know your Christopher back when he had a body." Holy shit! I was so stunned. How could this be? Well, it turns out that Christopher's biological mother is still alive. Her name is Joyce, and she lives in Princeton, Minnesota. She is now married to Beverly's first husband. So she gave me a lot of information about Christopher as a little boy, and I was able to give her some about what he's doing now on the other side. And it all matched up just beautifully and perfectly. So I thought, what a coincidence. Well, it wasn't long after that, of course, that Christopher confessed that he had lined us up in the first place. And so to this day, Beverly and I have this wonderful spirit buddy relationship. She's here today, by the way. We're trying to line up a date for her to talk here this summer. Also, Christopher's here, along with a whole bunch of other angels this morning. I haven't felt this loved in a long time. Well, last Christmas, Beverly was talking to Joyce, and she realized that Joyce is much more open-minded than she originally thought. So Beverly told her about Christopher and I. So she was quite interested, I guess, and asked to talk to me. So Beverly called and asked my permission for passing my phone number. And of course I said yes. Be delighted to talk to her. Well, that was about the first of the year she got my number. She said she would call, but she hasn't called yet. I've been told the time isn't quite right. But she will call at some point. And when she does, one of the things I'm going to say to her is this: your little boy is the most wonderful little angel in all the heavens. That should make her feel good. And as far as I'm concerned, it really is true. Anyway, so I'll be delighted to talk to her when she finally calls. Now, last fall, Beverly gave me a document, a 49-page typewritten document. She printed it up and mailed it to me. She thought I would find it useful and interesting. Oh boy, I'll never forget that first night I scanned it up and read it on my talking scanner. This document turned my world upside down for a couple of weeks. What a paradigm shift. The title of this document is The Cosmic Instruction Manual for Planetary Evolution. Underneath the title, in parentheses, are the words Emergency Remedial Earth Edition. Well, this document comes from, well, they call themselves Mission Control. Mission Control is comprised of archangels and all kinds of other energy beings. The purpose of mission control is to coordinate the movements that God orchestrates. So mission control pretty much is the right hand of God. Now, what happened is apparently a lot of our baby boomer souls came here without familiarizing themselves with the original Cosmic Instruction Manual. So now that so many of them are struggling and having a tough time here, they don't know how to ask for help. So they sent this fifth dimension document into our third dimension reality so that the word could be spread, so they'll be able to ask for help. So I'm going to share a few of the highlights of this document with you, and then I'm going to speak directly to your souls with a message from the fifth dimension. There are thousands and thousands of angels and many archangels and all kinds of other energy beings around our planet right now. They've been here for a long time, and they're here to help us. They're here to save us from self-destruction. They're also here to guide us to a graceful transition into the light. That's light with a capital L. After thousands of years, the genetic transmutation of all human DNA is now complete. This comes from the document. God has been modifying our DNA for thousands of years so that we can receive more of the light. Furthermore, they also pointed out that the veils between the dimensions are being lifted by God so that more of the light gets to us. So we got two major things going on at least. Also, our genetic DNA has been encoded to awaken at a certain time. That time is now. The awakening, however, will be gradual rather than overnight. They know we couldn't handle it if it was overnight, and they don't want to hurt us. They love us so much. So, and some people have already merged with their souls, and that's what the awakening is about. So that we can awaken to the true purpose and identity of our souls. The identities we've all spent a lifetime building, that's not our true identity. Our true identity lies within our souls. Some humans have already merged with their souls. Most have not. But that's going to change as our planet becomes more and more saturated with this loving light energy, as I now call it. More will be awakening and merging. So that will assist the transition into the light for our species. They said, you will know when you have merged with your soul, when your life flows with ease and grace. That's one indicator you're aligned with your soul. Another is if you feel a deep resonance in your being. That's another indicator. Now, they also said the time for spiritual teachers and gurus has now passed. The time for spirits is now here. They don't want us to be students anymore. They want us to be masters. They also talked a lot about the lie of separation. They just went on and on about it. The lie of separation is simply the notion that we are all separate, disconnected people with no connection to each other unless we're, blood relatives or something. They said that is the number one cause of most suffering, anguish, and bloodshed in human history. And they're kind of upset about it. They said, we are all one. So the lie of separation truly is a lie, according to this document. And there are people who accept the obvious that we are all one. And I'm aware that most people here accept the belief that we are all one. And that's one reason I keep coming back to this beloved church. So I've been studying this beautiful document for months now. I've read every word of it many, many times. I've spent countless hours processing it, thinking about it, reflecting on it. All the time I've been wondering, well, when is Christopher going to weigh in on this? Well, about a month ago he finally did. And here's what he imparted to me one night. He said, we are the last piece to the puzzle. Our species is the last piece to what I call the grand cosmic tapestry. That's why they're all here now. Our species and our pretty little planet are the focal point of all focal points in our galaxy right now. This we call hope. In the meantime, things are going to still be tough for a little while longer until the transition is complete. One of my favorite lines from this document goes like this. The damage and corruption we see all around us is the ending choreography of the old world's last dance. So in the meantime, till we get there, we need to hold each other close, very close. I also believe we need to release our pain, lest our souls become one of the casualties of this decade. After all, your tears are lubricants for your beautiful souls. Speaking of beautiful souls, I'm now going to talk to yours directly. The first part of what I say to your souls, I will be paraphrasing from the Cosmic Instruction Manual for Planetary Evolution. The second part will be a direct quote of the last paragraph from that same document. And I'm going to speak to your souls in the first person, because that's what I believe I'm supposed to do. I'd like to reiterate this message comes from Mission Control, and their sole motivation is love. We're so very sorry. So many of you have suffered so much on this dysfunctional planet. We are not oblivious to your pain and your agony. And we deeply regret that a few souls have been lost in the tumult. We also know that many of you came here without familiarizing yourself with the original Cosmic Instruction Manual, and now that so many of you are struggling, you don't know how to ask for help. So all you have to do, if you get to that point when you just can't take any more, is go deep inside and then project out to the universe the number's 911. We will hear you. We will assist you in many ways. But most of you will not be rescued until your job is done. But when you finally come home, you will be received with the greatest love, respect, and compassion that you could ever imagine. We love you so much for the huge sacrifices you have all made for the human children. And now I quote, "We bless you for your courage and your commitment, and we honor you for your accomplishments on this plane. Take heart in the knowledge that your task is almost complete. This carbon-based planet will shortly burst into a diamond, a true gem in the crown of its solar system skies. And then the celebration will begin." End of quote. Now, about 3 weeks ago, Christopher and some other angels I know showed up one night in my home, like they do so often, and they imparted this to me, and they imparted it with such power and such poignancy, I almost cried. And here's what they said. Hundreds of billions of humans have lived, suffered, died, reincarnated over and over again for tens of thousands of years, just so that we could get to this point right now. And almost none of the poor dears ever knew the huge sacrifices they were making were made just so that we could all get to this point right now. And it has been decided that those sacrifices will not be in vain. Well, I'm not quite ready to call us the crown of creation, but we must be getting damn close, because otherwise they wouldn't be all here now waiting to celebrate with us. I got a little correction on that about a week ago. As we finally join the grand cosmic tapestry, we will then all comprise the crown of God's creation. And this too we call hope. Now, I've come to realize in recent months that this energetic joy I've been savoring for the past 7 years, that is the light. I now call it the loving light energy. And that's how I experience it, as loving light energy. Others may experience this beautiful phenomenon in other ways. And if you have never felt the loving light energy, that's going to change. This too we shall call hope. So to summarize, we are lovingly enhanced. All the veils are lifting. the loving light is gathering, so we can embrace our beautiful souls. And it's all accelerating, but no one can stop it, for it all flows down directly from the great loving Spirit. And this we call hope, hope, hope. So it truly is a case of angels to the rescue for all of us. So you see, we really do all lead lives of rich, rich abundance. Even if our eyes or some other parts of our body don't work very well. And even if we're not perfect. You are so loved. You wouldn't even believe it. There is so much happening. So many special projects underway from the fifth dimension that are here now to save our butts. I only can share a little of it with you today, and I only know about a little of it. There's so much more happening. We're so very lucky to be living during such exciting and historic times in the evolution of our species. Gratitude, gratitude, gratitude. And I want each and every one of you to know that I love you all like gangbusters. Thanks for listening.